Have we heard from Margaret or Deborah at all?
Margaret's here now.
Oh, where? You're invisible.
I'm just coming up probably. I'm a bit late.
No, you're okay.
Deborah and Councillor Kosher, apologies. So
Fine.
we are all here once Karen comes back to her chair.
Sounds like a chair.
I'm moving. You might see me now.
Not yet.
I can see you, Margaret. It's all good. Judy's
Thanks,
probably just
thanks.
got less people on her screen. So
Yes.
that's okay.
Yes, I've got 6 on my screen.
Yes, we have 8 participants.
Okay, why can't I see everybody?
You
What
might not be in your full gallery view.
Okay, so where do I go to get that?
Top of the screen, Zoom screen. I'm just wondering, or you've got the minutes up and the people next to it, is that correct?
Yes, I have, yes.
Yes, so in between the minutes and the people, there are 2 tiny little white lines halfway along the minutes, essentially, and you'll need to click on those and drag to the left to make the participants.
Tiny white lines where?
2 tiny little vertical lines in between your minutes and your people. And if you hover your mouse around the center of the screen there, you should actually get a big white line appearing that you can click and drag to the left.
No white line.
So are you in side-by-side mode? That's the next question. So at the top of your screen, you should have a little green bar saying you are viewing Sarah Priest's screen, and then
Yes.
view options.
Right, yes.
If you drop down your view options, what are you selected as at the moment?
Fit to window.
So you want to click side-by-side.
Right. Okay. I've only just got you now.
That's okay. So then at the top of the screen, you should see a little button saying Gallery View. If you hover on your Zoom screen directly above me, so to speak, there should be a button that says,
oh, right, that, yes.
click that,
right.
and then you should have everyone.
Okay. Well, I haven't. I've only got...
Okay. So how many have you got now?
5.
Excellent. So now look for those 2 little white lines between the minutes and
oh,
the
yes,
people.
I've got them now, yes.
Click, hold, and drag to the left, and you should get more people appearing.
Yes, you're all here.
Beautiful.
Magic.
Excellent.
Magic.
We're done. All right.
Welcome, everybody. We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Gawler people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Gawler people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Gawler people today. So, how is everyone? All good? So we've got 2 apologies from, oh, hang on, where's Karen's? You're in the dark, Karen. Need to shine a light on you. So Deborah and Paul, is that the only 2 that are missing? Okay. Are there any leave of absence grants to be followed up on? No leave of absence. And we've talked about non-attendance. Okay. Declarations of interest, anyone? Okay, we'll come to the confirmation of the minutes. Would someone like to move the acceptance of the minutes of the 9th of April? Helen? Seconded by?
And I'll second it, Chair.
Karen? Okay, any discussion? Those in favour, please show. Just raise your hand. Yeah. Right, okay, I think we have a quorum, don't we? That's accepted. Good, thank you, carried. Okay. Business arising from the minutes. Well, I guess most of the minutes for the business arising is coming up anyway on the agenda, is it? Is there anything else that anyone wants to raise that's not covered by the agenda? If not, we'll go straight to that. Item 6.1. The collection inquiries. Would you like to speak to that, Jacinta?
Thank you, Chair. So just bring the attention of the committee, we had 40 inquiries, which is a similar number to what we have been receiving in a quarterly period since the Cultural Heritage Centre has opened in April last year. There were inquiries from Western Australia, Victoria and Queensland, and there were also 2 internal inquiries that we helped out with.
Right, thank you. Any questions of Jacinta, any discussion? All fairly straightforward. I had one, Jacinta, item 38, images of family. Apparently you've said there that there are a number of unidentified images in the collection. And I was just wondering about the Bunyip or even the Sunday Mail. They often have photographs in them where they ask people if they know who they are. And I wondered if it would be worth seeding some of the photos occasionally into those 2 papers at least.
Yes, that's a very valid way to try and source information about the photographs. We have quite a large collection of unnamed, unsourced photographs.
Just do a few every. Yeah.
Before we did that, surely we would check our own resources, possibly part of a project, but some of those might be recognisable from other sources internally, like Mayor's portraits and portraits appearing in the Bunyip and things like that. It's probably a stepped project, perhaps. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, can we just leave that to you to follow up? We don't need to move that, do we?
No, I don't think so.
No. Helen?
Jacinta, I'm not seeing anywhere the excellent work about the Gawler Place collaboration. So did that fall within this quarter or does that come in afterwards? So your identification of the bottle, yeah.
So through the chair, that was in the last period.
Ah, okay.
We publicised it in this period, but those items were found prior to that.
Okay.
Following on from that, Jacinta, was there any follow-up about putting the dates on those little quote things, those little descriptions?
So through the chair, as we reported at the committee meeting, the descriptors will go in as the committee recommended to council as quotes drawn directly from the newspapers, but the interpretation and the background narrative will be available on the digital wayfinding screen that will be in Gawler, in Walker Place, as will some information around the mural that is on the current toilet block. And so that's where the opportunity will be to flesh out the story, give dates, any additional information. We're currently doing the background research to prepare that interpretation.
Thank you.
So at the risk of doing a Pauline, can you explain how the public would access that digital material? Is it something they're going to have to pull up on their phones, or how are they going to?
So through the chair, it's a touch screen that's installed in Walker Place.
Okay.
It has multiple opportunities for people to access a variety of information around Gawler.
Great, good. Thank you. Just needed to be reminded. I'd forgotten that. Yep.
Any other discussion on that or any other queries before we move on?
Yes.
Yes, Diane.
At one of our previous meetings, Brian Sample asked the question about where Walker's Place got its name from. Do we have any means of finding that?
So through the chair, we provided the research for that, and my understanding was it was sent out by governance to the elected members, but Walker Place is named as Walker Place on the original plan of Gawler.
Okay.
Who was it? Or she?
So, in doing our research and to try and find out who he was, as this committee would be aware, most of the names in Gawler are either of early settlers or of the Orleana, of the ship that brought settlers to here. They have a clear association. With Walker, the only association we could find, he was a friend of Colonel Light's, a very good friend of Colonel Light's. He was present at his funeral and is noted in the newspaper accounts as being at the funeral. He was also instrumental in the creation of the Colonel Light Memorial originally in Light Square. So we believe he was a storekeeper, a successful storekeeper. We think he may have outfitted the expedition that came in this direction, and that's why he may have been given the name. But that's as far as we can go, that they are there's suppositions. We don't know for sure that that's the reason, but that's the only association we could find.
And will that information be there in the?
There's potential for as much information as we think is the community would be interested in on that sign.
Helen?
I'd just be interested in getting a copy of that, please, just into the...
Certainly, I can email that to you, Helen.
Yeah, thank you.
Karen?
Yeah, it hasn't been forwarded to elected members, not that I've seen.
Okay. So
Yeah.
through the chair, there were a range of questions taken on notice at that council meeting. We're still finalising a response from my understanding to one of those questions, and then they'll be distributed as to answers to all questions at once. So we've done the research internally for that specific question, but the answers are yet to be distributed. They should be out, I think, by the end of this week, if not early next week.
And
We're just waiting on one more.
Get that too, David?
Yeah, so Jacinta will be able to email the committee the results of the Walker Place stuff. No problems at all.
Excellent, thank you. Any other discussion or questions on this? If not, we'll move on. Point 2.
Through the chair, we need to move and second.
Oh, sorry, yes, we do. Yes, sorry. Thank God you're here, David. It's all right. Okay, someone will move acceptance of Jacinta's recommendations, please. Diane, seconder. Helen, any further discussion? Those in favour, please show. Okay. Somebody's voice then.
It's okay, it's my husband's. I'll just...
okay. Tell Shane he's not a member of this committee.
Thank you, yes. Despite earlier interference.
Okay. All right. Moving on to policy review. Did you want to speak to this, Jacinta?
Thank you, Chair. As the committee is aware, the Gawler Cultural Heritage or Gawler Heritage Collection Policy was adopted in March 2018. It's the policy that guides much of how we manage our collection at the Cultural Heritage Centre. It was due for review in March. We're presenting it to the committee and asking for a recommendation that it is presented to council as is at this point in time, noting that at any point in time it can be amended, that the committee can recommend those amendments to council, and so that it does have the option to change, but at this point we are suggesting that it be presented as is.
Okay, thank you. Helen?
I'm very happy to support this recommendation, with one small proviso. I think that some work that must come up pretty quickly. It talks about the fact that we've got the Institute collection, then it mentions the municipal and the local history collections as growing collections. From memory, we have no documentation that explains the protocols about both the municipal and the local history collection. That's a bit of an absence that we need to fill, for no other reason than making it very clear to the community as to what's being collected in those two areas and publicising it. So from memory, I don't think there's ever been anything explaining what the municipal collection is and the fact it is an ongoing. So in terms of elected members and perhaps staff and public who present things to the council, I think that needs to be made really clear. And the same with local history collection. At one stage, there was quite a large number of documents coming from the public who present copies of their work to the collection, and I think that's possibly tapered off. Equally so, we also purchased material into that local history collection. So I think I just flag happy to support the policy, but I'm flagging that I think some more work needs to be done for clarity in those two areas.
Karen?
I'm happy to second that, and if I can speak, Chair, if that's all right. Yeah. Thank you for those words, Helen. I wasn't even aware there was a municipal collection. It's never been made clear to me that one existed. So I think it is important that at some point that is explained. Particularly, I agree completely with the local heritage collection, that that there is that transparency and understanding of what these collections constitute, what rules are, how you receive gifts, where they go, who you contact, all those sorts of things. I think what's appropriate, what wouldn't fit the criteria. What is the criteria? Yeah, so I think in the future it would be good to have that articulated and easy to understand.
Did you want to respond to that, Jacinta?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so on the website, it does state that there are 3 different parts to this collection. It's a very simplistic statement. It's a legacy statement. So I agree that there needs to be a further fleshing out and a interpretation of the different parts of the collection. So it is very clear to the community what is accepted into the collection, what the sorts of items they can expect to find in the collection. So I think the wonderful thing about collection policies, and the committee might realise that in looking at the external documentations, I referenced the ICOM Code of Ethics for museums, because collection policies should always be growing, changing, reflective policies as collections evolve, as they get more defined, as they reflect their communities. So so we can certainly look at making the different parts of the collection and the types of items in those parts of those streams more easily understood.
I'd like to ask a question, Jacinta. What's happened to the name of Wendy Treloar in relation to the local history collection?
So through the chair, we have in the collection, we do have a Wendy Treloar wooden sign that was hung in the reading room. So we have that association, but the local history collection, when I was working at council, was just simply called the local history collection.
Okay, and can anyone enlighten me on why that's changed?
Through the chair, we'd have to take that on notice. I'm not aware of it previously being called that either. The reason for the change, if there was one. In my time here at Gawler as well, it's been the local history collection. So we can take that on notice and get a response back.
Well, Helen might have some information around the history around the Wendy Treloar collection.
Oh, I'm happy to go back through some records and my recollections and respond to that. Oops. Oh, I'm good. Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy to contribute that. I'll need to go back and have a look.
That'd be great, Helen. I just think it'd be very sad if her work wasn't acknowledged in some way with that collection. That's all. Okay, thank you for that. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay, we need to have someone move acceptance of that, do we? Helen, seconder?
Through the chair, it was moved by Helen and seconded by Karen.
Oh, okay.
Already. So it's just voting at this point.
Okay, so those in favour, please show. Against, carried. Thank you. Right. 6.3. Management plan. Did you want to speak to this, Jacinta?
Thank you, Chair. The Cultural Heritage Management Plan 2013 predates the committee. It predates the Cultural Heritage Centre. It was an initiative of the library, funded through a grant. It provided a very detailed outline of the collection and the plan forward for managing the collection. It has periodically had update reports to council. And then when the library was relocated prior to the redevelopment of the Civic Centre, some of the actions associated with the plan were carried over. So since the collection has returned to the Civic Centre, current staff of the Cultural Heritage Centre have reviewed the update reports to council. We've also reviewed actions that have taken place since the opening of the Cultural Heritage Centre. We've noted those on the plan for the committee. So we're presenting this to the committee for their review, for any questions that they may have around it. We're suggesting that this plan be closed and that staff work with the committee to create a new strategic document to carry us forward for the next 5 years, to define the priorities for the collection, to help guide the Cultural Heritage Centre in the work that it's doing.
Good, thank you. Karen?
Thank you, Jacinta. I've got a slightly different point of view. I don't believe we should close
I'm
this.
having trouble hearing you, Karen, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know, it's a bit muffled or something.
Is that better?
Yes.
I've got a slightly different view. I don't believe that we should be removing this plan until we update it. And then once we've got an updated plan, then we close it. I don't think there's always priorities that get in the way of developing plans, etc. And it could potentially be that we don't have a management plan. I don't believe that we have reconciled all the recommendations that were in this management plan. I think that we need to further understand the collection. I actually think that we need to have a site visit at our storage facility. We haven't yet done that as a committee. I think we did it before there was a committee, and we haven't done it at all during the time of this committee. So I think that before we close off a management plan that had 21 recommendations, some of which haven't really been reconciled, I would rather note that we've reviewed, that there's been a review by staff of this plan, and I'd also like to enter, the committee do a review, firstly to the committee for review, and then we also have a site visit. So I'm not sure what anybody else thinks.
So just if I can paraphrase you, Karen, point 1 there, would you just delete has been closed and put be reviewed?
I think the Town of Gawler Plan 213 review be noted.
Just noted, not reviewed.
Not just be noted.
Just noted. Okay.
Has been reviewed.
That's your suggestion.
And that we have a site visit. I think there needs to be a point 4.
Site visit. Okay. Any further discussion? Anyone else? Helen?
Comfortable about having nothing in between, and of the 21 recommendations, it's only 11 or 12 have been closed. So I think not keeping it open and therefore pointing the fact that we will roll some of that stuff into the future plan. I mean, I agree that it's, it's quite dated now and things have moved on, but I'd like to see the continuity between what's remaining from this and going into the new plan. I think it makes more sense to do that rather than to stop one, have a pause and restart again. I think it would be better there. So I look forward to a workshop to develop this, the next plan. I think we need to put some timelines. We've got a couple of workshops now that are hanging open. I'd like to see some timelines on that. For example, I have some problems. We use the word collection inventory, asset register, and we use eHive, and I'm uncomfortable with some of that. I don't think they're the same. I need some more information about eHive and its security, and if we stop the license with eHive, where's our asset register gone type thing. There's quite a bit of digging down that I'd like to do. So I think a workshop as we can rework some of this would be ideal. Okay,
so a continuum rather than a
yes
hiatus. Jacinta, did you want to comment, or does anyone else want to comment before Jacinta does? Anyone else? No? Do you want to respond, Jacinta?
Thank you, Chair. We'd be happy to facilitate a workshop on the different items that have not been closed out, and certainly the items that the committee might want to consider when they're creating a new cultural management plan. And I can organise a site visit to the off-site storage and to the storage facilities on site.
We could probably do that, sort of keeping a good social distance before we have the workshops, couldn't we? We could do that relatively soon, I would think. What do other people think? Yep. All right. Karen, do you want to sort of just move your change, your alteration?
I'll put forward the officer's recommendation, but with some changes. So if I work through them, and I'll move that accordingly, and then I guess people can tell me what they think.
Okay.
of those changes. So, Chair, with your indulgence, I'll go through each point one by one.
Yes.
One would be the Town of Gawler Cultural Heritage Management Plan 2013 review be noted. Point 2 is unchanged. Given the discussion around a workshop, I think there should be a new point 3 that a workshop be, what's the term? Give a term.
Convened.
Organised.
Organised, convened in the near future, specifically to develop the cultural heritage management or the new cultural heritage management plan. That once developed, point 3 is unchanged, and there's new, and so that would be a new point 4, and then there'd be a point 5 that a site visit be arranged as soon as practicable and within and taking into consideration COVID-19 restrictions for the committee to view the off-site and on-site storage facilities.
All right, thank you. Sarah, can I ask you to just read them out for us, please?
Through the chair, we'll just have to do some editing and put them in the correct order.
All right.
Just need to
Well,
change a couple
we
of
can
things.
do the first one. We can do the first one while Sarah's doing that. The Town of Gawler Cultural Heritage Management Plan 2013 be reviewed and noted. People all aware of that?
Review, just review.
Review be noted.
Review
Yep.
be noted.
Yep.
Just reviewed. Okay. Not noted.
Point 2 is unchanged. There's a new point 3, which is the workshop.
Yes. So point 2 is as is. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And then point 3 becomes a workshop be organised in the near future, etc., etc.
Yes.
Is that right? And then point 4 is the old point 3. Is that right?
Yes.
And then point 5 that a site visit be arranged, etc., etc.
Yeah, so a site visit be arranged as soon as practical, taking into account
All of those, yes, social distancing and
in
so
order
on.
to view the on-site and off-site storage facilities.
Did you get all that, Sarah? I can't see what Sarah's typing, but can someone else see it?
Yeah, it's coming on. It's okay. She's getting there.
Is she? Bless her heart.
So through the chair, if I may, and with the mayor's indulgence, just point 3, can we slightly amend point 3 rather than saying that a workshop be organised in the near future specifically to develop the new cultural heritage management plan, but be specifically to inform the development of? I don't think we'll be able to develop the entire thing in one workshop.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, can everyone see that now?
Yep.
Or if not, if like me, you can't see it, you vaguely know what it is. Okay. Karen has moved that. Would someone like to second it, please? Diane? Oh, no, I'll give Margaret a go. Margaret,
Yeah.
right? And any further discussion? If not, those in favour, please show. Against? Carried. Thanks, everyone, and thank you, Karen. All right, moving right along. Was there anything listed for discussion at future meetings?
So through the chair, we've
Oh.
just got updated motion list.
Oh, sorry,
to start
7
with,
is
if there's
updated
any-
notice. My
If there's
apologies.
any questions around that?
Writers' Archives, would you like to just bring us up to date on that? Just because we were talking about that at the last meeting with the guest to Jeff Guess's donations or wanting to donate. What happened about that?
So through the chair, we've been doing some background work on creating some discussion points for the Writers Archive workshop. We were waiting to see whether this will be meeting face-to-face soon, and also we thought it would be advantageous to have it at a time when the entire committee was there so they could all input into that.
Could we have one via Zoom, do you think? Is that feasible? What does the committee think? What do you think?
I think a workshop is broader in its discussion. Exactly that, it's a workshop to discuss. Not sure that Zoom does it really.
Okay.
Plus, if we're within a formal meeting, then it needs to be, as I understand, recorded and made available to the public. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, why I'm asking is because I belong to a writers' workshop, and we sort of comment on each other's written stuff, which we put into Dropbox and read and then provide commentaries on and so on. And it works like a workshop, and it's done through Zoom. I just wondered, I mean, anyone else got any?
I don't have a problem with Zoom. I think we're getting better. It just depends on, you know, for example, Judy, you're not able to see the minutes, so
No.
Sharing documents, we need to all be able to see stuff.
Yeah. Well, in a workshop, I'd have the stuff in front of me in hard copy, like I do. I've got the papers for this meeting in front of me. It's just as they come up in, as Sarah prints them, that I don't see it. That's all. I've got the paperwork here, and a workshop would not require that current minute taking, would it?
But you might want to share your ideas.
Oh, I see, a written idea.
A bit like a piece of butcher paper, but
I see. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You could do that. You just need to see the screen. Yeah.
Just hold my butcher's paper up like that. All right, just a thought. Okay.
I think it'd be great. I actually like Zoom because I don't have to travel.
Yeah. Well, we haven't made a decision, Jacinda, so.
Well, through the chair, David, do you have any indication at this point about when we should be able to, when council is going to transfer from a Zoom across into face-to-face? What's the thinking on that at the moment?
So through the chair, we haven't had a full determination on that as yet. The ability to conduct online meetings stays in place until the emergency declaration ceases, and that's quite some time off yet. We currently have obviously person limits in rooms and buildings that we still need to adhere to. So at the moment we can't facilitate a meeting in the one building here at the Civic Centre, for example, and have the library open at the same time because there's too many people in the building at the one time. The numbers will increase theoretically beginning of June, so around the 9th of June. But again, the time of our meeting and time of gathering, we need to consider the fact that any numbers that we gather take away capacity from the library because it's the one building. So we'll need to consider that quite hard as we go through. And the Mayor probably has a bit more feedback around council meetings.
Karen.
That's sort of our position at the moment.
Karen?
So I beamed into a meeting with the Premier last night with about 113 mayors and CEOs, and that subject came up. When can we go back to face-to-face? And he used the example of Parliament because
you're dropping out, Karen.
He classed, so this meeting, we had a Zoom meeting with the Premier last night, most mayors across the state and CEOs, and there were lots of things discussed, but that question came up about when can we have face-to-face meetings. So we can have face-to-face meetings, but as David explained, it depends on the numbers and the 4 square metre rule and what your spatial capacity is. So it depends on your, so my view is that we could potentially go back sooner rather than later. The Premier said that he considered local councils meetings as work. So just like the Parliament is work, that's why the Parliament's back face-to-face. They're classed as work, and they're not subject to these same rules if you're classed as work. So the LGA, Local Government Association, is going to have that clarified as to whether we're classed as work. And if that's the case, we'll move back into face-to-face sooner rather than later. But yeah, certainly I'm keen to get back face-to-face sooner rather than later, as much as I love Zoom. It's harder to interact. I'm not sure what Diane thinks. I'm sure Diane's got her own views on the pros and cons of Zoom. But yeah, so we haven't quite answered that. There's, as David explained, there's complexities around that. So once we get that clarified, hopefully we can move back into face-to-face meetings.
Thank you. Do you want to say something, Diane? I can't hear you. You're muted. Hang on.
I like Zoom because I can hear it, what everyone's saying. When I'm in the chamber sometimes, because I'm a bit hard of hearing, unless they use the microphone, I get lost in the conversation a bit.
Fair enough. All right. So we'll just leave that until we get further information, I guess. Karen? Hang on, you've got to be on.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's just a question on if we get to COVID safe July and we've got 100 people, we can. Just a question around and the museums and galleries can open up again. Where are we up to with our gallery, with our exhibition, and what has there been discussion around when we can actually put that in place?
Jacinta?
So through the chair, we're working towards having the exhibition installed as soon as possible so that it can open whenever we get a directive. Unfortunately, I've just heard from Art Lab that the Canon and the Gawler Institute banner are unlikely to be back here before the end of June. So I would think that we will well and truly be in place for round 3 of the openings if we can, when we can have 100 people in the building. It would be very easy to manage. We could then think about having a small type of formal opening. If the committee remembers, the director of the State Library, Jeff Streptall, said he would open the exhibitions. So, and I think that would be a nice thing for the community to look forward to, a larger gathering than necessarily just 1 or 2 people coming in at a time at an earlier opening. So our plan is to have it ready so that we can then decide when the best time will be to get the community into the gallery. The research centre, we are hoping will be open in the second tranche on June the 9th after the public holiday. I've got a list of people who have been asked, have asked me to notify them directly when they can get back into the research space. So the avid researchers of Gawler, and also from further away than Gawler. So that's good too. So it will be a stepped opening, I think, in that respect.
Thank you, Jacinta. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on. The items listed for discussion at future meetings. So we've had a few ideas today. So what do people want to see listed that won't already come up? Helen, you're still muted.
Thank you. Yep. I'd like to, particularly given the reading room and the necessity of it closing through these COVID, I think it just, to me, I think we need to investigate the use of the reading room. It hasn't, in my opinion, hasn't quite worked yet. I think that had to do with some of the budget considerations about the creation of the gallery, and what was initially planned for the reading room, I think, didn't occur. But to me at the moment, its purpose seems a little lost, and I'm certainly getting some feedback from some members of the community that it's not clear, is it an exhibition space? Is it a meeting space? Is it simply a place where you can use wireless from the library? It seems really unclear in the community as to what its purpose is. And I think we've been very busy doing lots of other things, granted, but I think sometime in the future we need to put some focus and some publicity and some thinking about how the reading room, because it's a very large space and it is part of, together with the gallery, the James Martin room, the research room, it's the 4th of those spaces. I think we need to really start to think and market what its purpose is.
Yes, I agree, Helen. I'm just thinking that if we do have a further discussion about that, it ought to involve the library staff. That's my view.
Yes.
Karen, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Helen. That's great. I think they're great insights. I know that the Beckstein piano, we were hoping to put that in one corner, and I think it'd be good to incorporate that piano that at least is partially restored into, so it's on display all the time and not hidden underneath a stage somewhere. I think that would be really good. I think that part of the evolving nature of we've completely transformed that room, and I think that you're right, Helen, we have parked it a little bit because there's been competing priorities. I think that there's certainly an opportunity, but I'd hate to think that we went back to the cluttered storeroom, sort of, we weren't quite sure, we'll just keep putting stuff in there. I think that we need to have a bit of an understanding that it is, we wouldn't want to go back. I personally wouldn't want to go back to that. I know some people do want to go back to that, but I think we've got an opportunity to go forward. In regard to COVID-19, I think that like the playgrounds, not the reading rooms, the playground, but council's taken the view that we don't need to clean those playgrounds. People need to take personal responsibility for their hygiene. If they go near a space, they wash their hands, they use hand sanitizer, those sorts of things. They touch surfaces. And I think we need to apply the same lens to the reading room. I know it was closed initially quite early because we couldn't adequately clean it without destroying the beautiful wood with the harsh detergents. So my view would be, for what it's worth, that we get that room open sooner rather than later, but ask people to use their personal responsibilities in regards to personal hygiene. I'm not sure what people think about that idea, but I think otherwise we're not going to be able to open it. You know, if we think we need to clean it and we can't, we're stuck. So I think we need to have a bit of there needs to be, I think, some thinking around that. My view is it's a meeting room, it's a gallery space, it's all of those things. It's an event space as well. So yeah, it lends itself to a lot of opportunity. There's issues with, I know when we were working through the reading room design, remember on that southern wall, we were going to have all these a hanging system. That hasn't occurred. And we've also got these really large pictures that would be difficult to store. So, you know, I'm inclined to leave them there, but that's up for discussion, I guess, isn't it? You know, because they are beautiful, but how do you manage that room going forward if you were to take them down? Where do they go? So there's some really interesting questions we could discuss around that.
Anyone else want to discuss it? No? Okay. All right, questions without notice? No? Motions without notice? No? All right, well, I declare the meeting closed, and thank you all, and keep safe and keep healthy, and our next meeting is the 11th of June. I'll say goodbye.